Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the VIP Lounge. Did it work? Maybe it worked. I don't know. I'm really excited you're here. We love coming here to Denver and doing this.
Love it.
It makes us happy to introduce you to some really important people in the industry.
I mean,
dare I say very important people in the industry?
Yes, VIPs.
On the Vertafore Insurance Podcast. And Chad, there you go. Look, got Orange Mike Chad in the building.
Watch out. He might start beatboxing. We don't know.
Oh, nice. So today's guest is Ravendra Singh. And some of you guys may have seen him on some stages. You may have heard him talk a little bit. You may be working with him. He's an Orange partner.
Yeah, and I think the thing to note about Ravendra is he's going to give us a really unique perspective on how the MGA world is transforming digitally, right? I mean, we talk all the time about the insurance agent and the insurance agency. We talk about the insurance carrier, but the MGA world is becoming a hot commodity. I mean, we acquired MGA systems. They've been... the MGA world has been growing more and more every year due to the hard market and agents finding that competitive edge in specialty lines. And so, MGA...
It's kind of like the new kid on the block.
It's kind of like the new kid on the block.
Kind of like that. And I think we should get into it and ask him.
I think you're right. I got to stop. It's too much... Listen, let's go.
Let's go. Ravendra Singh, welcome to the VIP podcast. How you doing, sir?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Sid and I are excited about hanging out with you for a little bit. And before I get into the easy questions, I got a really hard-hitting question for you if you're ready for this. I didn't send you this one, so it's a little off script here. But have you ever faked a phone call to get out of an uncomfortable situation or another conversation?
Yeah, who hasn't?
There you go.
Yeah, my question is who hasn't?
Right?
Everybody does it.
Sid does this to me all the time.
Well, it's just whether you're willing to admit it to it or not. That's the real question. You passed the test.
Yes.
Yeah, you go. Yeah, I think Sid does it to me all the time. I'm like, hey, we gotta have a meeting in a minute. Oh, we got a phone call. Hang on a minute. No, I had to know and just see where you're at on that one. If you're going to be honest with me, we can continue this conversation. If you weren't, then we were going to shut this down.
No, absolutely. So I've done it to my boss.
Let's hope he doesn't listen. I love it.
So that I have to get out on these uncomfortable conversations. No, I'm kidding. My boss is a great guy.
No,
listen, just promise us you won't do it to us on this podcast.
That's right.
As long as you won't do it to us.
If halfway through he's like, "Oh, my mom's calling. I gotta go." Like, oh, wait a minute. We'll know
you
what's
don't
up.
know.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Well, man, as we were talking about before we hit record, like you've been to our offices, you've been, involved with us for a little bit now with, your partnership with us. And you had some involvement in Accelerate this past year. I think you were on stage a little bit. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to me a little bit, as we slide into this conversation? What has that meant for you? What does the relationship with Vertafore mean to you? And what was your role, in Accelerate? What were you talking about there? Just high level, any of those questions you want to answer, go for it.
Yeah. So what we have seen in the industry is a real push for, modernizing and innovating the MGA business in the past few years. And it was the carriers who sort of led the torch in the last 10 years. But in the last few years, we have seen the business of the MGAs. And we have seen that in our services business also, that we are doing more MGA business than we were ever doing before. And that has meant that Vertafore, what does it mean for us, and how do we work with Vertafore? Vertafore is one of our premier partners, and it all started with MGA systems. Our initial experience with Vertafore has always been image right. It's everywhere you go, it's image right, and then we partnered with MGA systems. We built an ENS rater for them. And then when MGA Systems was acquired by Vertafore, by virtue of that partnership, we were brought into the Orange Partner Program, and we were very glad to be part of that because with the MGA systems, it was just IMS and net rate. But with Vertafore, we have been exposed to so many different things that we are privileged, we are honored to be partners, and hopefully we can help in Vertafore customers outside the MGA systems ecosystem, which we are already working with. Hopefully we can, service more customers, in AIM or AMS 360 or in other areas.
Can you give a very high level, quick, one or two sentences on KMG, just for those listening who don't know who KMG is?
Okay. So KMG is an IT solutions provider, professional services. So we do custom software solutions, product implementations, your typical digital transformations type of projects, analytics, working in and around the cloud, automation type of services. So you think of us as an Accenture, but a smaller Accenture. Accenture or IBM Services, or whether TCS, Cognizant. So your typical services, professional services business in PNC insurance.
Okay.
So our focus is PNC insurance. Our focus has always been PNC insurance, and we have always worked in personal lines, commercial lines, specialty lines, and basically we bring our IT expertise as well as our insurance know-how of the U.S. insurance industry, and build custom solutions and do IT professional services for our clients.
Awesome. So you have a hand in the MGA space, which is unique because we mostly interview people who have a hand in the agency world, but you're bringing a little bit of a unique perspective here, and one I think the industry finds fascinating right now, considering the hard market. A lot of people are partnering with MGAs. I was looking at a couple studies actually before we hopped on this call, and I should have brought up some of the stats, but I remember one of the studies saying that today MGAs have invested, or in the last 3 years, MGAs have invested more heavily than they have in the past 3 to 6 years. And most would say they've gone through a digital transformation, and they consider technology a competitive edge. Would you say that that's accurate because studies are studies. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're a little fudgy. With your grassroots ground level experience, would you say the hand-to-hand combat, do you find that, or do you think there are still a lot of MGAs that are on the back end of the digital transformation?
Yeah, so it depends on the size of the MGAs. We work with small, medium, and large MGAs, all at the our services are no different for a small MGA versus a large MGA, and we have seen significant investment by these MGAs in digital transformation and basically overall digital services, whether it's submissions, whether it's automation, or whether it's now trying to use AI, and providing that customer service, speed to market, seamless connectivity with the carriers, document generation and whatnot. So, and the most important part for the MGAs is the integrations. There are so many integrations that the MGAs have to sort of handle with their core systems that it becomes tough for them to manage that. And digital integrations is where we sort of one of our core services is to help these MGAs connect with third-party systems, connect with their carriers, connect with their brokers, and some of the brokers that we have seen are larger than the MGAs, and the brokers are very tech savvy, and so that's the first part. And the second part, what we have seen is a lot of startup MGAs who are identifying niche business models, and they are very tech savvy, and they don't want to do anything that manually that can be solved digitally.
So throughout my career, I've had the privilege of being, an agency owner. I've also worked with an MGA or, as a broker there, and then I've also worked for a carrier. And I feel like, to her point, we talked to a lot of agency owners and agency folk, but the MGA has to bridge a gap between so many different relationships and have to manage carrier relationships, agency relationships, and they have underwriters, but they also have brokers, and there's a lot of different relationships there. How does technology play, what you guys are doing, or technology in general, and AI, whatnot, you were talking about, how does that play? I mean, how do you guys navigate through that, I guess I should say? What are you guys doing on that role?
Yeah, typical. So on the broker side, we build seamless submission portals where a broker can submit an Accord application, just email it in or upload it. The MGA ingests it, creates a quote, and sends the quote to the carrier. They get a proposal back, and they send it to the broker. So like a seamless, straight through processing. That's the playground that we play in. End to end, from creating a submission, doing rating, quoting, all the way to the carrier, and calling that carrier API, getting the response back, and whether it's submission through the website, whether it's submission through the carrier API and web services, it depends on how modernized the carrier is. And then in the middle, there are these core systems like the agency management systems where there is underwriting, and then there are a lot of rules. So our expertise then sort of lies in configuring all of these different applications and configuring the rules for underwriting referral, or connecting with BetterView, connecting with Hazard Hub, connecting with sort of DNB, so that you get additional data for the underwriters to make those decisions at the MGA level. So these are the different areas that we work in.
Mm-hmm.
I actually am curious on what is your biggest challenge when it comes to bridging that gap, because I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but you're not giving us that full on challenge that you face every day. What gets you up in the morning? What makes you want to tick? That type of thing.
Yeah. So the challenge is integrations. We have seen MGAs struggle with these integrations. And a lot of I'll be honest, a lot of the core agency management systems don't have built-in integrations that the MGAs want. IMS doesn't, and I don't know if AIM or AMS 360 have these typical integrations. That's the first challenge. And the second channel is reporting out of these core systems, extracting data, putting it somewhere, or, for example, generating bordereaux. That's one of the challenges. And we work with a lot of these MGAs to help them generate bordereaux out of IMS and not all data is sitting in IMS. There's some data that's sitting in NetRate. There's some data that's sitting outside IMS and NetRate that the MGAs maintain, that they have to send as part of the bordereau to the carriers.
Yeah.
So, just these two challenges, integrations, and then, challenges around data.
Yeah. So let's dive into the integrations piece, because that is such a complicated challenge for you. It's one thing to say I think about our solutions, commercial submissions. It's one thing to say, well, here's a relatively standardized insurance policy that has a relatively standardized data set. We know what the fields are. It's a little bit of rinse and repeat, right? And I'm not saying it's a cookie cutter, because I think BOPs are always a little different. There's always little things, right? But for the most part, like if we look at standardization, like 70% of it is standardized, 30% of it is not. Then you get into the E&S space and it's flipped. And I don't know that people realize the complexity in, technology is great when there is standardization. Technology becomes a massive undertaking when there's less standardization. So how do you guys overcome that? Like, I can't even wrap my brain around how you would start that process.
So let's take an example of integrating with IMS, which we have done a lot.
Okay.
IMS has some really good APIs. And John Bennis and Dom and those that team has done a great job in giving us access to the APIs, and now I think they have a data access layer to go directly query their database. So the challenge has been that connecting two systems at any point, it's making sure they talk to each other seamlessly, and then what are the rules in between these two systems, and that has been the biggest challenge in making sure we document all the rules, we manage all the rules. So there is a rules engine between system A and IMS, and all the different nuances of all the different transactions, and what are the rules inherent, and are there APIs that can handle all of those different rules and customizations that customer A that's using IMS wants to sort of integrate their portal to IMS, and then so that's a challenge. I'm not saying IMS working with IMS it's a challenge. It's just to build that whole ecosystem and integrated straight through processing enabled ecosystem takes a lot of time and takes a lot of little nuances, and then and we need and a lot of the folks say, hey, IMS, here is a portal, can you connect it? And they want us to just go away and build something, and that's not how we work. We work with the customer who's using IMS, and we keep them involved and keep them quote unquote accountable so that they can help us sort of build that system for them. And we don't work in silos, we collaborate with our customers. And that has sort of helped us alleviate some of the challenges that we get in doing these integrations.
Yeah. What's the outcome? So let's say you go in, you work with an MGA, you build out this end-to-end connectivity between the carriers that they're partnered with in the MGA system. What's the outcome? They spend all this money.
Yeah.
What do they get?
So the objective was to do seamless processing of their submissions, the quoting rating process. And the outcome is that their broker is able to submit business that goes directly into MGA net rate and then gets rated, and then they get a proposal back seamlessly instead of somebody doing it manually inside IMS using agency staff. So it could be outsourced, like a lot of the MGAs outsourced to Resource Pro for doing all of the different, not just submissions, doing all the subsequent transactions. So you could eliminate all of that if you properly do that integration. And in some cases, if the system doesn't have APIs, then we use automation. We use process automation to simulate an integrated environment. For example, if a broker submits an insurance application, you can pick it up, scrape the data, create a data file out of it, and then log into it, the agency management system, enter the data there, hit the rate button, and then wait for the rating to finish and grab all the rated information, create the proposal, extract the proposal, and email it back to the broker. So all of that could be done without using APIs, but using automation tools. That's another way of doing it. And the challenge there is to make sure the automation works for all the different nuances, again, for all the different transactions.
So again, back to that part of it, and being in the MGA space in the past and working with MGAs as an agency owner, some MGAs have different, or all of them have different underwriting authorities. Some have binding authority with certain carriers. Some have, some don't. Some have to submit on behalf. Some don't. So how do you navigate through that and know which rules to set up for which ones? Is that something you have to really pay attention to and work closely with those relationships?
Yes, absolutely. So we have. It has to be a seamless user experience, and the system has to be usable. So, our core principles that are rooted in design thinking, all of us are basically working towards, usability before functionality. Is the system usable? Right. And definitely the use case is if they have binding authority, we will have to build those integrations based on that. And if they have to submit business ac- along with the accord form, because many carriers need accord forms. So we have built solutions when an accord form is submitted, and then a quote is created, but somebody goes in and edits the quote that generates another accord for the carrier to use to give the premium back.
And then some of them need their own like supplemental forms too, and they have their own certain forms that they want to use. So I'm sure you built that in too.
And a lot of these MGAs have their own customized applications.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and some of them don't use accord. Some of them have their own, 3-page,
that's a lot for you to keep up
application.
with.
Yes, and that's where automation comes in. That's where, those PDF data extraction tools that we work with, they come in. And, AWS, Accord's own transcriber, and there are many tools out there that help us create a JSON that we can then manipulate and map it to the carrier's web services, and then we can send it to the carrier or do some sort of automation so that we can submit business to the carrier and get a premium back.
Do you see a world where...
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
I'm talking about EA 2200.
I love this guy.
Oh, here we go, Ravendra. Get ready.
Well, I'm not going to ask an AI question, so everyone calm down.
Okay.
Although you could wrap AI into this if you really wanted to.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so do you see a world where... this whole... forms. Okay, I'm trying to be politically correct here, but I appreciate the accountability, the standardization and unity that these forms bring to the insurance world. Like, it forces us all to speak the same language, and there's a benefit to that. But my gosh, do they get in the way? Like, do you see a world as a technologist building the future into these MGAs, which I would think that's really where you see the most usage of all these different forms and custom forms and forms this and PDFs. Is there a world where we just get away from these things?
Yeah, absolutely. We work in healthcare. Yes, absolutely. And I would like to see that world one day where everything is digitized and you ask some basic questions and your insurance application, your insurance quote is created for you. In healthcare, there is super standardization, and it's mandated by the government that you can only exchange data in this format.
Yeah.
And all their forms are built
based on
that. Yes. So whether it's, and after Obamacare, it was more stressed on all the medical providers, all the health exchanges, that you have to exchange data. And the government said you have to follow this standard, this format. I would like to see that in PNC insurance. I would like to see people exchanging data in a certain format and not deviating from it. And, Accord seems to be doing that, but a lot of people don't use Accord because of the nature of their business, especially in the specialty lines, the ENS lines. But I would like to see, no forms. You put in your, tax ID, your name, your address, your website, and we should be able to use data that's out there to at least pull up your business details, your current policy details, and present it to you. And then you tell us what you want to do with your current policy without having them to every year enter and fill up a form and submit that application.
Yeah.
So when I came here, we were just on, I guess, tail end of, we had partnered with, acquired MGA systems, and it's been like a massive surge for us, and we've had a lot of good energy from that, a lot of good feedback. Like, our customers have been excited about it, and it's just been a huge positivity, in our business. From your perspective, what makes MGA systems so special? Hearing it from you, a vendor that works with it so closely, what can you tell me and our audience that makes, because I don't use it every day, so I don't know on my end. So tell me what makes MGA systems so special.
So, what we have heard is that they have all the functionality that an MGA needs, combined with IMS and net rate, right?
Yeah.
And I've heard that a lot, even from a startup MGA that went to IMS and net rate because of, and this is true. This is the line I heard. They have everything
Oh, I like that.
that we need. So that was an amazing sort of
That's a
like
good
a
testimony.
wow moment, like a wow moment that a customer is basically saying that MGA systems have everything that we need to run our business.
That's
right?
a heck of a testimony. You need to write that
yes,
guy's name
yes,
down and send it to me so I can use that. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Last
Yes.
question for you, unless Sid jumps in here with another one. You guys are part of our Orange Partner Program ecosystem.
Yeah.
Just as we wrap up, what does that mean to you? What does that program mean to KMG and being a part of that ecosystem?
Yes. So it opens up a lot of possibilities and a lot of opportunities for us to work with a lot more of the Vertafore customers, and we have already seen that. We started with IMS net rate, and it really means that it's more business for us. I'll be very honest, and a lot more valuable experience that we are getting by working with those customers. As soon as we became Orange partners, sort of a lot of the doors opened for us. A lot of IMS net rate customers came to us and said, "Hey, you are Orange partners. Can you do this, this, and this for us?" And over the past 2 years, we have made 5 or 6 different customers just because we are an Orange partner.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's on the MGA system side. Now we are seeing doors opening on the AIM side, where we are working with or starting to work with a few customers who use AIM and VPI for their form setup, and just only because, hey, you're an Orange partner, which means Vertafore's application, 1 or 2 applications, yes, and then we'll learn more. And then the biggest thing has been that our insurance knowledge, right from our developers all the way to our managers who run projects, the project managers and solution architects, know insurance. And that has been a big plus, combined with the partnership with Vertafore has opened a lot of doors for us in providing our professional services.
So, guys, we did not pay him to say that. Thank you so much. So what I'm hearing is the Orange Partner Program opens doors, and I love that. We may need to talk to Doug about a new slogan for that. But, no, I think that's awesome. Thank you so much. And so if you're a vendor out there and you're thinking about the Orange Partner Program, you heard it straight from Ravendra, and you could probably reach out to him somewhere on LinkedIn. He'd talk to you about it. But, again, thank you so much for hanging out with us today, for being here, for educating us on a lot of things. And, it was such a fun conversation. Thank you so much. And I thank you for not faking any phone calls during this podcast either.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and I love talking to you guys, and I love working with Vertafore.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
We love working with you as well. Man, what a great episode.
Dude, that was fire.
Yeah, you always like those. I always like the ones that give me heartburn, the spicy
The
episodes.
spicy ones.
Because we got some great guests that we had to share their opinions. We had to get that out there.
Well, and listen, that's not the last great guest we're going to have. We got so many more lined up
Dude.
this season.
You got to come back every single time.
Go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, or make sure that you follow us on your favorite podcast channel.
So come back next week, hang out with us. We got another amazing guest. See you on the
Peace.
next one.